Okay, welcome everyone to Grow, Get Ready with Entrepreneurs. This is a lunch and learn session between 12 and 1 p.m. We hang out and periodically get to invite some of our Grow members to speak. So what is Grow, Get Ready with Entrepreneurs? It's a gathering of like-minded entrepreneurs interested in building their brand through networking and sharing of ideas and best practices. As much as there is a focus on topics related to marketing, our goal is really to take that holistic approach to building a sustainable business to ultimately support our people, planet, and profits. And a little bit more about Grow for those who are new and just joining us for the first time or haven't had a chance to look into this. We have all of these webinars are free to join, as well as there are some free newsletter every week, as well as some resources. We also have some paid membership in behind the portal where you can get all the recordings, all of our templates, downloads, blogs, extended resources, as well as access to some of our other workshops and good stuff and more to come. So if you want to learn more about it, there's a QR code there. It's also at acornstudio.marketing/GRWE, and more information's there. And if you have any further questions about that, we hope you will reach out to us. So myself, I'm Laura Dunkley. I'm the CMO and Principal Consultant at Acorn. All my info is there, and Emily joins us today as well. She is our creative director, and she will love for you to hang out with her as well on all her social. If you want to follow us, there's a QR code up the corner, as well as a Facebook group that we have for Grow. We hope you can join us there. So please do reach out if you have any questions or just want to chat. And so today's session, keeping up with marketing as you grow. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dakota LaMarre. He is our resident Acorn Studio Marketing's copywriter and scale consultant. And he is that go-to guy that when people are ready to scale, we bring him in. So he has nearly a decade of experience as a writer. He is well-versed in crafting all types of copy that conveys story and makes people want to buy. And that's what we want. Dakota also works with clients to optimize their internal operations and talent plans so that they're prepared to grow. So when marketing starts sending them all that work, business owners are ready. So if that's something that you're interested with and you want to discuss further, Dakota's information is there. You can connect with him on LinkedIn as well as ask him questions today. So I'm going to pass the screen over to him so he can continue his presentation. Thanks, Dakota.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, I have that same slide up here, but Laura just did a fantastic job of introducing me. I hope I can live up to everything she kind of said there. But as she mentioned, I think the single word that defines me and my business is scale. Laura and Emily have actually helped me figure that out and massage that out over the past little bit. But basically everything that Laura said, and if you have lofty business goals and you essentially want to avoid getting crushed under the weight of your own success as you grow, I'm your guy. So today we're going to explore this topic of keeping up with marketing as your business is growing. I have 5 tips to scale your business that I'm going to share with you, which you will quickly learn in this presentation is very different from growing your business. So we're going to talk about the difference between scaling and growing your company. I hope that these 5 tips are going to offer a perspective that maybe you haven't been given before. And then I think Laura mentioned it, but I'm going to try and keep my speaking portion very short and sweet because this is intended to be more of a discussion than a lecture. So without any further preamble, I'm just going to get right into it. Let's start with some context, right? Why do we have to talk about this in the first place? Why do we have to spend time discussing business growth? And, the follow-up question is, shouldn't it be easy to grow a business, especially if you have something that people want and you have the means to give it to them? Shouldn't you just be collecting money and living a happy life? Well, it turns out, no, actually, entrepreneurship is very, very hard. Starting a business is remarkably difficult. For many of us, especially, a lot of us in this room, and I think recording or watching the recording, we're in that solopreneur phase. Like, we're working as single person companies, and we might have outside teams that we rely on, or a business partner or two, or maybe even a few employees, but everything ultimately comes back to fall on us. So I wanted to start by asking a question, like, who knew what you were getting yourselves into when you decided to be an entrepreneur? And I mean, I can see some faces, a lot of shaking heads. A better way of phrasing that question is maybe, who was blindsided by the sheer amount of work required to both start and then operate and grow your business? And I think that we are all kind of in this same boat, right? I did some research, and becoming an entrepreneur, or I should probably say being an entrepreneur, is widely considered to be one of the hardest things in the world for a human being to do. It's right up there with like overcoming an addiction, overcoming the loss of a loved one, being a parent, or recovering from a major health issue. This is just like, we've picked one of the hardest things possible to do willingly. We chose this for ourselves, right? But this is the path that we've chosen. I've chosen, you've chosen. And while it is very challenging and sometimes just downright painful, it also provides an incomparable opportunity for fulfillment and rewards that cannot be achieved anywhere else. So that leads us to a question, right? The sort of question of the day: why is it so hard to keep up with marketing as your business grows? Marketing and everything else, but obviously today's focus is marketing. I want to touch on this cycle before I get to the 5 tips to scale your business. I want to touch on this vicious cycle that I have noticed many entrepreneurs get trapped in, especially in service-based businesses. And I think it's one of the main reasons that it's so hard to keep up with marketing as you grow. I call this the cycle of getting and delivering. So let me know if you can relate to this. A lot of companies and entrepreneurs get stuck in this cycle where they go through periods where they're very dedicated to getting new customers, right? You gotta sell, you gotta get new customers. And then once you drum up a bunch of work, you got to switch to delivery mode, because you made all these promises during the sales phase, and you got to actually go do that work now. And during that time, especially if your client getting phase was successful, you have so much work that you just sort of neglect marketing and selling. And then the timing is almost comical, because usually all of the client engagements kind of dry up all at the same time. And I noticed the entrepreneur then goes, oh no, I don't have any other work lined up. So then they kind of enter panic mode, and then you have to, dedicate all your time back to the getting customers phase. And you just get caught in this cycle. Can anybody relate to this? Like, give me a thumbs up, or if this is relatable to you. This cycle is, when you get trapped in this cycle, this is what kills your ability to scale. And so really successful businesses, ones that are able to scale, are able to break this cycle. And instead of having to constantly put one of these priorities ahead of the other, or putting one on hold to focus on the other, and constantly shift back and forth between one at a time, they're able to actually find balance and dedicate effort to both acquiring new customers and clients, and serving current clients at the same time. So it's almost like they grow in unison, and they're able to grow both sides of the business together, which, it's great to be able to point out where the problem is, but how exactly do you grow both sides of this cycle at the same time in a balanced way, especially without adding so much complexity to your business and your life that it becomes overwhelming and miserable. I mean, we want you to succeed, but we don't want you to end up hating your job or your company because you're too successful. This ties into a major distinction in business, and that is the difference between growth and scale. So let's define the two, right? What is growth? Growth is doing more to get more results. It is constantly finding ways to work harder and then getting incrementally more results for your effort. So the growth equation there at the bottom is more inputs equals more outputs. Does this make sense to everybody as well? Scale, on the other hand, is doing less to get more results. It is constantly finding ways to work smarter and getting exponentially more results for your effort. So the scale equation is less inputs equals more outputs. Is everybody clear on the difference between those two? Because I think that distinction is something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. So for good there, really, so scale is sustainable growth, and it's the only way to continue growing your business without getting crushed under the weight of your own success. And that's how we start to tie this back into today's topic, right? How to keep up with marketing as you grow, because as your business grows, it is going to demand more and better marketing from you. That's just a fact, right? You'll need a better brand. You'll need a better website, better content, better ad campaigns, better PR and media exposure, better affiliate relationships. All of those things take a lot of work, like a lot of work, and a lot of expertise, right? And then internally, as you grow, you're going to need better operations, better financial management and strategy, better people and culture and talent development and acquisition, you name it, right? So how do you keep up with all of these demands from your business? What's the answer? That's where I come back to always. You need to switch from growing your business to scaling your business. So now, as promised, let's look at the 5 tips, that I promised. Now, I wanted to give you these tips so that you could use them in your day-to-day decision-making, keep them in your mind so that you can be aware when you're taking action in your business. Pay attention to whether this is a decision that is going to help you grow or scale. So the first one is understand the value of your time and your money and know which one to spend in a given situation. So I want to give you an example. It's like a hyper simplified example. It's one that it's almost, I think it's almost laughable, but I use it all the time because I think it illustrates this point. So let's say in your business, you have an activity that you can do that brings you in $100 an hour, just to have simple round numbers. Maybe it's a sales activity. And then let's say it takes you 2 hours a week to clean your house. By this logic, if you clean your house, it just cost you $200, right? The opportunity cost of not spending those 2 hours making $100 an hour. So maybe you can hire someone to come and clean your house for you for $100. And it's funny because I find, especially entrepreneurs who are starting to see success, there's this like emotional reaction to, I don't want to spend $100. I don't want to pay for that. And I kind of help them realize that when you look at the opportunity cost, there's a spread of $300, where instead of, you can choose to pay 100 or you can choose to make 200. And again, I just use that example because in that situation, hiring someone to come and clean your house for you, allows you to stay focused on the revenue generating activity that will earn you net out $100 instead of costing you 200. So, this presentation is not designed to sell you maid services, but it's a simple example of how foolishly we tend to use our time and our money. And I find that as a general rule, you should, as a business owner, you should invest your time into things that make you money and that makes your business more systematic and profitable over time. And then you should spend your money on things that are either mindless and administrative, so things that don't contribute to making your business more systematic and profitable over time, or on things that you're not good at and that you have no interest in getting good at. Like if you need to do digital advertising and you're not good at it and you don't want to get good at it, obviously pay someone to do that for you. The moral of the story with point number 1, guard your time and play to your strengths. All good? Okay. Let's go to point number 2. Focus on finding one thing that reliably brings you new customers, and then focus on getting really, really good at either retaining or upselling those customers. So many entrepreneurs will make a common mistake. It's another one that I see, right? Where they will start to see success in one sort of customer acquisition channel and then believe that that's a reason to expand into other customer acquisition channels, when in reality, they should be doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on the one thing that is working. Now, there's a difference between customer acquisition and lead generation and brand, right? Brand is still super important. You need to be building and developing your brand, but you don't have to be everything everywhere to all people at all times. So for example, if you found that affiliate partnerships work for you to get new business, then try to find more affiliates and replicate that success, right? Take that success, replicate it, and then use your profits to invest in improving your operations, talent acquisition and development, and client delivery, that internal stuff. Don't take the success from the affiliate program that is working and then invest heavily in, like, now I got to make a bunch of organic content. Now I got to do digital ads. Now I got to invest in a PR campaign. And I know I'm kind of contradicting what I said earlier about your business needing more and more and better marketing as you grow. But again, there's a difference between building your brand and aggressively pursuing new customer acquisition strategies. And again, when in doubt, make sure that you are balanced in that cycle of getting and delivering clients, because I find that prioritizing, building and systematizing your business that delights your customers and your employees should be the focus before investing in new customer acquisition strategies. And the reason why is because happy and satisfied people, both employees and clients, is always the best marketing strategy for any business. So to sum that one up quickly, right? Instead of, taking success in one customer acquisition channel and trying to then do all customer acquisition channels, take the success in the single customer acquisition channel and focus on delivering the absolute best experience to both your employees and your customers, and then continue, doubling, tripling down on that single customer acquisition strategy, because guaranteed there's a lot more that you can do with it. We all good on that one? Okay, let's go to number 3. Form powerful habits across your health, wealth, and relationships. you'll come to learn about me that I'm all about habits. Laura and I spend a lot of time talking about marketing habits, not about marketing knowledge or tactics, but about habits. But success in any kind in any endeavor is not dependent on your knowledge, but it is dependent on consistent action. And consistent action is just another name for habit. So, let's look at all these areas, right? If you want to be fit and healthy, exercise and eat well. That's it. They're just habits. If you want to have a healthy, loving relationship, focus on communicating and expressing gratitude to your partner. That's just habits. And I'm obviously oversimplifying these things, for the sake of time. But these are just habits. If you want to succeed in business, dedicate time to marketing, be financially disciplined, and treat your employees and your customers really, really well. Those are also just habits. Success and scale are much more dependent on the boring, simple, unemotional, day-to-day work than they are on the big, exciting, innovative, game-changing ideas. So again, another key to scale and success is forming powerful habits in all three of those areas too, because part of being a successful entrepreneur is being a well-rounded and balanced person. And if you want to live that balanced, fulfilled life, you need to dedicate to all three of those areas, right? Health, wealth, and relationships. But it's really that simple. You just get good at doing the boring work until it becomes natural to you. We clear on habits? Have I made it very, very clear how much I believe habits are the key to success? Wonderful. Okay. Fourth, be prepared internally for growth. This is a conversation that Laura and Emily and I have all the time, and it's been such a wonderful experience for me to join the team, because they started telling me about some clients that they're working with, and then the sort of the question always came down to like, wow, okay, some of these people have amazing potential, but what if it works? Like, what if they double in size over the next 6 months? Can they handle that? And that's where my work started really melding and meshing with their work, because that's what I love to do, is get you ready to double in size every 6 to 12 months for a period of 3 years, 5 years, as long as you want. But basically the logic is, if you're going to invest into marketing and sales, into getting more customers, then you have to be ready to serve them and keep the promises that you made during the sales and marketing phase. So making sure that you're ready from an operational perspective, from finance, leadership, talent, all of those perspectives. The more your business grows, the more you have to rely on systems, processes, technologies, and other people instead of just your hard work, right? You have to focus on working smarter and not harder. And as entrepreneurs, I mean, many of us got here by working hard, but what got you here is not what's going to get you where you want to go. So again, focusing on working smarter and not harder. And that ties in nicely to my fifth point, because one of the smartest things that you can do as you grow your company is to partner with the best people and pay them what they're worth. So one of my favorite sayings, whenever this subject comes up, I always reference this quote from this gentleman named Red Adair. He was a legendary firefighter. So he was a guy that, like, when an oil rig would catch fire, we're not talking like house fires and stuff, when an oil rig or something would catch fire, they would call him in to put it out. And he used to say, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional to do the job, just wait until you hire an amateur. And that has always stuck with me. I firmly believe that the way to grow a company is to pay less people more to do smart work. And the best people, they're always an investment, but they're almost always worth the investment. And the best way to scale your company is not to hire cheap employees to do mindless administrative work for you and then keep all of the, that forces you to have all the good ideas in the company, which that's a lot of pressure as the company continues to grow. Like the more your company grows, the more good ideas you need to have on a regular basis. Instead, you want to hire experienced, capable experts who will help you to continue propelling your business forward. And I also usually reference a common Steve Jobs quote a lot when this topic comes up. He said, it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and then tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do. So in theory, and I mean, I think it's funny too, because entrepreneurs, like, we get sort of like control freak syndrome, right? Because we have invested so much emotional capital into this thing that we've built, and then one day it needs more from us than we can provide ourselves. So we got to bring other people in, but we want to make sure that the new people that come in are doing things the right way, and doing things the way we've done them from day one, when in reality the business needs other people to come in and contribute their ways of doing things. But in theory, whenever we're out looking for people to work with, or looking to hire people, whether it's an employee or an outside firm, you're usually looking for the smartest, most capable people available, right? You want to hire the smart people. The way to scale is to just do that and then empower them to do their best and contribute to the ongoing development of the company. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are my 5 tips today to scale your business. I'll just quickly recap, right? Understand the value of your money and your time and know which one to spend in the right situation. Find one thing that brings you new customers and then get really, really good at keeping them. Form powerful habits across your health, wealth, and relationships. And that's just the boring work that is going to get you incremental progress every day. Be prepared for internal growth. Be prepared internally for your marketing to actually work. And then partner with the best people and pay them what they're worth. I was hoping with this presentation that, again, these things are pretty high level. They each take a lot of work and discipline to implement and master, but focusing on just 1 or 2 of them, even in your business decisions, I find can have fairly transformative impacts. So wanted to provide just 5 quick tips for you. That's pretty much it for my presentation. We're going to open things up to Q&A, but I just wanted to really quickly also tell you about who I serve. I think it's pretty clear at this point, but I work with companies that are growing fast and who want to learn how to scale instead. So if you've grown really quickly, but you need help adding structure to your marketing, your operations, your talent, so that you can build that foundation to scale on, or if you know someone who's in that situation, I would love to have a conversation to talk about how I can help you shift from growth mode to scale mode. I kind of eat, sleep, breathe, dream this stuff. So I always just love to have conversations about it. And on that note, unless Laura or Emily, if you have anything to add, feel free, but I'm ready to open this up to Q&A. And we came up with this sort of question prompt, which is, what is your biggest bottleneck to scale? So feel free to comment on that, ask any questions that you have. Otherwise, let's just talk about this concept.
Awesome. Thanks, Dakota. Lots to unpack there. we could talk about all of those 5 steps, which I'm happy to do as well. It's like, oh, what do we say? But this biggest bottleneck to scale, I think that's a really good question. I think, I think let's get started. I'm going to stop sharing. If I can figure out how to do that. There
There
we
you go.
go. Oh, thank you. And then, yeah, let's open it up. You guys feel free to come on camera. It's a really small group, so just jump in. I don't think we need to worry too much about hands up and stuff like that. So welcome, Renee. Thanks for joining us. I see you're probably in listening mode, and that's cool. But yeah, that's a lot. And as being an entrepreneur, and I've been one since I was 19, and I'm not going to tell you how many years that has been, but I remember lots of learning along the way, and then went back myself and worked corporate for government, right, for 4-ish years, and that was a different challenge. But now back out into the entrepreneur world, having taken that time away and then coming now back working with Emily, it's like, oh, right, I forgot how hard this is, and how much structure can really help as you grow. Because, if not, you end up just scrambling, doing all of this work, and feels like you're not getting anywhere fast, and then getting frustrated and not being the best version of yourself every day. So all of those things, I know for me, the bottleneck for sure is just knowing where to start. What does that structure look like after been doing it for a while? Like, where do we start would be my challenge. But so yeah, so jump in. Any answers to that one? Dakota, even where do you start?
But I want to make sure that, if anybody else has any questions or comments, feel free. I'm gonna write that down right now, where to start. That's obviously great question, but anybody else comments, questions right now?
I mean,
Sid, no, you go ahead.
I thought that was really informative. I really like, thank you, Dakota. I definitely, a lot of the points you brought up resonated with me, and I feel like a lot of it is stuff that just throughout my business journey I've kind of picked up, or but then you should be doing it and you're not doing it. So I think that's kind of where I'm at, and especially even just like the number one point, like understanding the value of time and money. For me, especially like doing a business for the last 5 years, I've only just in the last year tried to bring on people, and it is like that control freak kind of like mentality. So it's really hard. Like there's a whole other like emotional aspect to running a business that I kind of had no idea about. So it's nice to talk to other people and kind of hear other people's perspectives, but yeah, it's a process.
Yeah, I know, Sid, like we were talking this morning, like we're, growing our team and starting to bring on more people. I will admit I am a slight control freak when it comes to certain designs and things that I do things. And it's really hard to mentally offload that onto somebody else, as Laura can back me up on that one. I try and offload stuff to her and I'm like, no, just let me do it. So it's brutal. One of my struggles as an entrepreneur is I went straight, and I mean, most people know my story by now, but I went straight from college to being an entrepreneur. And I don't actually have that corporate background. Like I actually have nothing to compare. So like I have Laura, who's been like the best mentor when it comes to being an entrepreneur, and I've learned so much from her, but I'm always comparing. It's like, well, I don't have that experience working in the corporate world. So like, how is structure supposed to be? How are things supposed to be as like a digital, like this big agency? So that's, and I know, Dakota, we've talked a lot about this, but yeah, that's kind of like my structure is I got nothing to compare. Less jaded. Thanks.
Really not missing that much. But I want to kind of address those in reverse order, and then we'll keep discussing, but Emily, I immediately, as soon as you mentioned not having the corporate experience, I immediately was just flashed to the distinction between busy and productive. And where it's like, yeah, there's plenty of structure usually in corporations, but it's just a lot of busy with many of the activities leading to very little impact. But then that also happens in our world, solopreneurship, entrepreneurship. I do it all the time where I'll be like investing hours and hours into something, and I'll just be like, why am I doing this? How is this going to help me grow my company? Which ties back to question one, where to start, from Laura. But I want to go back. Okay, so let's look at Sid, you talked about like outsourcing stuff, and Emily, you talked about this too, outsourcing stuff, but then still wanting control. And so it's a really interesting topic, because it comes back to, what do you outsource to, right? And so, there's a discussion I had with a friend years ago who has his own business as well. And we were talking about, okay, like in business as an entrepreneur, do you try to bolster your weaknesses, or just continue to develop your strengths and then hire other people to cover your weaknesses for you, right? Like if I find success at something, do I try to hire someone else and teach them to be as successful as me at that thing? Or do I hire people to take other things off my plate so that I can just be successful at that thing, like, 12 hours a day with no interruptions? So it's like, what do you offload? What do you outsource, right? And you'll never make another you. But then eventually there comes a point where your business needs more yous almost, right? And then Sid, you also touched on, knowing a lot of these things, but then implementing it, right? And that's that knowledge versus habits distinction again. And I always come back to it too. Like, I know these things. I wrote these 5 tips, and then all the time I'm just like, oh, what am I doing? Like I'm doing the opposite. Why am I doing this? So okay, let's go back to question 1 from Laura, because I think it addresses all of these things too. Where to start? And I know this is a conversation that we've had about Acorn clients, about some of my clients, like where to start, what to focus on right now. And at the end of the day, for me, I have found it's like a 2-parter. It's 1, finding the most niche, impactful, high value thing that you can do for someone, that you can charge the most amount of money for. And for those of you that don't know me too well yet, whenever I talk about money or cost or price, I'm always talking about value and money are synonyms to me. So if I say, find that thing that can bring you the most money as quickly as possible, I'm also saying find that thing that can bring the most value to someone as quickly as possible. But finding some sort of transformative experience that you can deliver to someone, because selling information and selling services are much less profitable than selling transformation. If you can do something for someone that completely changes their lives in a way that they can't go back to the way they were before, that's worth a lot of money. So finding that sort of thing, bundling, I know Dorothy's smiling because like that's, I think, the world you live in. But if you find that and then package it, systematize it in a way that makes it so you can deliver it either in some sort of automated way or scaled way, you go from 1 to 1 to 1 to many or something like that. And then the other missing piece is getting I think it was point number 2, getting a single reliable customer acquisition strategy that just works. And so I find a lot of entrepreneurs, right, we're all trying to do so many things for so many people. So where to start? Pick one person who has a serious need they know they have the need and they want a solution, and they have the money, like serious money to spend on solving that problem. Create the solution for them, find a way to sort of systematize and automate as much of the delivery as possible, and then find a consistent, reliable way to just go into the vast known and unknown universe and draw those people to you and convert them into customers. That has to be priority number one. And I mean, I work with a lot of people who want to do a lot of things, myself included, right? Like want to have like a charitable aspect of my business where I give, want to create lower ticket items that help people who are earlier stage and essentially nurture them towards becoming one of those high ticket clients. All of these things are great, but the best way to actually get there is to become highly profitable and scalable, because then you can pay to make those things happen. Am I making sense here? Does anybody have anything to add or ask?
Well, I'm going to jump. Oh, Dorothy, I'm going to go quick because then I know I want to listen to yours. Is the good place to start? Because most of us as entrepreneurs want to give back, right? That's why we're doing this in the first place. And we get ahead of ourselves and we don't trust the process. So what I'm hearing from you, Dakota, is actually trusting the process, doing the business plan, knowing your brand strategy, your brand story, creating that plan, having clear mission, vision, values, and then get started so you see the timeline in the right way, and having someone come in to help define that is good. And it keeps us from ourselves because we're entrepreneurs. Look, squirrel, right? We're off. So staying focused is my takeaway from that. So thank you.
100%. And Dorothy, I want to get to you, but I got to add something on that quick, because I don't know if a lot of entrepreneurs I associate myself with, one of the reasons I've been drawn to this group is there's a certain archetype of entrepreneurs who get into entrepreneurship because they want to give. They're impact driven entrepreneurs. And the fact of the matter is, the best way to have big impact is to have a lot of money. So like, you have to find the most profitable way to do things in your company first, really invest in, like I said, keep saying, automating and scaling that, then you can give. And then, so one of the major obstacles is, and we've seen it before with people that we've essentially decided not to work with. And it's like, if you create a business where your plan is to give stuff away for free or cheap, and then nurture those people into becoming high paying customers, the problem is the people who come and want the free stuff or the cheap stuff are not the same people who are willing to pay a lot of money for quick transformation. And this is where, you see in business, like, it's easier to sell a $50,000 solution than it is to sell a $500 or $5,000 solution, because the person in the market to spend $50,000, they know exactly what their problem is. They know they want it solved quickly. They know how to choose good professionals and good talent to solve it for them. And they're clearly pretty good at making money already because they got $50,000 to spend. So yeah, great point. Dorothy, I want to let you share what you want to share.
Oh my gosh, I love this conversation. So good, guys. So good, Dakota. I love it. So what I wanted to throw in there is, before all of this great tactical stuff that we were talking about here, and obviously you can't start if you don't have customers. Honestly, when I look at the 5 steps, the first one, especially as a life coach, the first one that my mind goes to is, you have to start by being prepared internally for growth. And I think this is the part where it challenges people think that this is linear. You start and then you go, and then growth happens, and then you got to get ready for the growth, and then you got to continue. But in reality, and someone said this really beautifully once, I don't remember who it was, you kind of should sit down at the beginning and figure out why you're building a foundation for. What kind of growth do you want and envision and are dreaming for your business? And this is where you're going now to come face to face with your own internal demons of, you know, what am I worth? What can I accomplish? What is possible? But if you run with that dream, is your vision to grow an empire? Is your vision to grow something comfortable? Is your vision to pay the bills? And then you can, if you understand what you're prepared to stretch yourself to, and you lay that foundation, and Dakota's like, oh my God, let me in. I'm so ready to talk to this. But if you lay that foundation, then the growth isn't going to surprise you as much, or the bucks aren't going to surprise you, because you've laid it out and you had a vision of, actually, no, I'm comfortable having a small to medium-sized business and I don't want anything more. Or no, I'm an empire builder. I know my why, and the steps along the way are just bumps to building my empire. And if you start there, everything else kind of supports the why. Go ahead, Dakota.
No, I love it. I love it. That's, yeah, 100%. I mean, you know, it's funny because I work with a lot of coaches, and it's 100% like, you know, coaching is, you can build a very comfortable life fairly easily in coaching because it's high hourly rate type work, especially if you can, you know, give transformation, bring transformation to the lives of your clients. But there's only so many hours in a day. Like, there's only so much coaching you can do. And okay, you touched on a couple
one-on-one. There's only so much one-on-one that you can do, to your point.
Yeah, you touched on a really interesting thing, you know, in talking about self-worth as well. I firmly believe everybody in this room is set up in a business that could be producing whatever you want. $100,000 a month, $500,000 a month, $1 million a month. Like, it's all there. It's all possible. But yeah, it's really like, how big is your dream? But do you truly believe that you are worthy of accomplishing it? And that's been a personal journey that I have been on. I mean, I think I shared part of my backstory in one of the other sessions, but I was partnered with a coach at the end of, for like a couple years. And at the end of 2022, the relationship fell apart because we just weren't on the same page. We weren't making any money. I don't know. We were super busy, not very productive. And so at, you know, January 1st, 2023, I had like nothing. Like, I had no money coming in. I had to get a job at a restaurant to pay the bills. And thank God I did, because that's why I met Emily. But like, and, you know, I stopped forcing it and was able to start receiving what I needed. Right. But that self-worth thing, I really dove into that, and just getting really good at believing that what I've wanted to do, which had been my dream since I was 14 years old, I'm worthy of that. And then it just became habit, right? Just putting the work in every day.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Dakota. And oh my God, I love that line. I stopped forcing and started receiving. Spot on. That's a whole other webinar in and of itself. But honestly, so then if we continue that on, Dorothy's personal take on the 5 steps would be, start with that getting prepared for growth mindset. Then you implement the habits. You just said it. You implement the habits. Then you give yourself that one channel, which is, by the way, Dorothy's bottleneck, is finding that single channel for new customers. And you said keeping I don't remember what your language was, whether it was keeping them for as long as you can. On a coaching relationship, it's a little bit different. So I said, and leveraging those relationships for as long as you can. And then, so you get the mindset, you develop the powerful habits, you find your single channel, then you start to really make some decisions about time and money, and then you partner with the best people to give them the money for their worth. I love that. That's just such a natural story to success.
I love it. And I just want to touch on, you're right, it does kind of start with, be ready internally. And it's like, as entrepreneurs, and if any of you have read the E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and he talks about how as an entrepreneur you have to be the entrepreneur, visionary, founder, the manager who makes sure that things get done right and everything gets done, and then the executor, the administrative person, the person who actually does the things in the company. And the E-Myth is that all entrepreneurs spend the majority of their time as that top one, that visionary founder. And in reality, most of us had one moment of great vision, usually combined with I'm so sick and tired of working for whoever I work for, and I'm going to go do this on my own. And then all of a sudden you get committed to this decision, and it's just like, oh, now I have to do this day to day, every single day. I have to show up and do this. And even though we have this like amazing bravery and we're doing this, we're doing it, right? We're doing the entrepreneurship thing, taking on this, like one of the hardest things that human beings can ever do. We almost still plan for failure. We plan for it to not work. So then when it does work, yeah, we're not ready internally for 10 new clients next week, or 100, or whatever the number is that is just, unimaginable right now. And this is, again, we circle back to the conversations I have with Laura and Emily all the time. It's like, hey, like this client wants to invest in marketing. Great. What if it works? Like, are they in trouble if they double in size over the next 12 months? Yeah.
And to jump in there, I've seen it happen. I've seen clients all of a sudden, we track it and it's like they're scrambling to handle the leads. And that's, we and Dakota and I talked about the aligning your sales and marketing, whether you're a big organization or a small one, wearing both hats. You need to do it. It is the golden team. So create your processes and then make sure sales and marketing is working effectively. And I know most of us are small here and just starting, or getting that piece, and we're talking about preparing, but you always have to prepare, because I've seen clients too that are running multi-million-dollar organizations that are stuck, still thinking like small business owners, and they can't scale. And it's very frustrating. It's just as frustrating at that point as we are right here. So just always remember that it's not the end. We have to always be thinking and planning for that next phase and be aware of it and that it's coming. So if we can create the habits and the mindset now, we just do it at a different level later on.
Yeah. And I just, as a final thing, I want to touch on too, because, okay, like I've written and published a couple books, right? And writing a book is very, very hard. But let me tell you, selling books is so much harder. Like it is so hard. And at, a $20 book, and if I make $2 per book after all the expenses and everything, like I got to sell a lot of books to not have a day job. That's why I got into more online courses and high ticket offerings. But still selling those, and I have a bunch of clients that's their bottleneck. Like I got a high ticket offer, $4,000, $10,000 per client. I just don't have a reliable source of getting clients. That's the thing, guys. Like I am working on that so hard right now. And I'm working on building a system where whatever the high value, high ticket item is, I want to build a tap that you can turn on and off at will, right? So it's like, I want 10 new clients this month. Okay, we turn the tap on. As soon as you hit 10, okay, let's turn the tap off. And then you deliver, work with me, to make it so that, okay, next month you can do 15 or 20. And then we turn the tap on, we get 20, we turn it back off. And that's how you grow. So I've been very, very focused on figuring out that lead gen thing, because that's every single client that I work with, ultimately that becomes the biggest bottleneck. So soon I will be able to bring that solution to you guys and say, here it is. Here's how it works.
Laura, can I say a couple of things? I know we're coming up to 1 o'clock.
No,
Is it?
go for it. Go for it.
I wanted to express my gratitude, similar to Sid and Dorothy. This I only came halfway in, but this conversation, I realize it's so wide. We talk about the beginning, but we have to anticipate the end. We talk about starting, but you have to anticipate the growth. It's such a wide spectrum, and Sid said it so well. It's like spot on. Dakota, thank you for those 5 pointers. I also want to say thank you to Dorothy, because Dorothy, about 6 months ago, it was in February, asked me that same question. What is your goal in terms of growth, Renee? And wouldn't you know, it hit me so hard. I was like, yeah, okay. Am I okay with making what I'm making right now? Or do I want to, be what I used to be when I was in the corporate world, work 90-hour weeks and have big goals and big revenue? And I'll be honest, how obvious it was when she said it again. I think I had forgotten it and I need to hear it again. And it's such a good question. What do you want? Very broad. And then Dakota, so thank you, both of you. Thank you to Emily and Laura for bringing Dakota on. Dakota, you touched on a point that about a year and a half ago, I heard somebody say this when you were talking about when you have growth and you have an employee and you have to decide what you're going to delegate, what you're going to keep, what you love. Something I always go back to, I call it the resentment barometer. And so you could be great at so many things, but you don't necessarily love everything you do. And so when you get to a point where you're growing and you're so good at so many things, there are certain things that you're good at that you don't necessarily like to do as much. And I call it my barometer, my resentment barometer. When I go and I sit down to do a task and I feel a bit resentful, like this is bugging me, this is annoying me, call it what you want, but it's annoyance barometer. That's what you should probably pass on, because you will only be good on doing something as much as you love it. So, love what you do what you love, and you're probably going to be great at it. So whatever you don't love to do, even if you're good at it, that's what, in my opinion, you pass on to an employee that can do it better than you, that actually loves to do it because they are at different places in their career, whatever it is. And I found that has worked for me in the past, whether it was in my corporate world or what I'm doing right now. There are certain things that I love to do, but I've passed on, because I know somebody else can do it better. And quite frankly, I don't enjoy it as much. So just some food for thought, but I wanted to say thank you for allowing me to come in halfway through and taking you for my joyride as I taxi my kids around.
Thanks, Renee. Oh, that was
Well
awesome.
said.
Be
Well
safe.
said.
Okay, any final thoughts before we wrap things up? Well, thank you, Dakota. I will
Well,
let you do the final thoughts, but thank you.
I was just going to express my gratitude. I mean, it is such a joy for me to talk about this stuff. I'm not kidding when I said I was 14 years old. I remember, because I was working on my friend's farm and he dropped me off in the middle of a field, and I watched the pickup truck drive away and the dust cloud dissipate, and I was just standing in this field by myself, and I just said to myself, like, there's got to be more than this. And I just thought, I would love to find, because my parents are small business owners and I've watched them struggle my entire life with just the challenges, right? And I just thought, what if I could be someone who just went into small businesses and essentially just ask them questions, help them think about things from that third party perspective, and then wrote things down for them and help them just get organized so that they could focus on helping people and growing their company instead of all the day-to-day nonsense that comes along with it. I drifted from my path a lot, but I got back to it, and thankfully, things happen for a reason, and here I am today. So I just want to thank you for essentially allowing me to live out a dream I had when I was just a ninth grader standing in a farmer's field by myself.
Oh, such a good story. Well, we are so excited to have had you here today, because I think this is why we really wanted this topic to get started for this next season of Grow, right?
Yeah.
Marketing. Like, let's all go back now, do our homework, go through those 5 steps, and know and start creating those habits. And